Okay, so we
It's
did the
great
technical
for
part.
everybody who can it's really great if we can see each other, if at all possible. I'm not making it a requirement, but it really makes a big difference if we can see each other.
So if you are comfortable, you can turn on your cameras, or like at least when you talk, so that we have more of a human feeling, even though we are virtual. So I think we can
Look at me.
start.
It's like, oh, is this what Chris looks like? Oh my God.
Silly.
I'm going to take a selfie. Wait, hold on. I'm really, hold on. We have 3 computers here. I'll send it to you, Eva. Hold on.
A whole setup.
Turn back. Everybody wave. Okay. Thank you.
Great. We will also have a group photo. I will do a screenshot. So I think we can officially start. As we announced, and as you can notice, the official language of today's event is English. So I will just continue talking in English. Dobroveče. So just to start, I will make a short introduction, because a lot of you here tonight were not joined in our first session. So to briefly present the Socrates Café, it is this open space where people can share their ideas. And one very crucial thing about this movement is that there are no limitations on who can be participants of this. So it's regardless of your age, of your educational background, of your nationality, of your life experiences. And the main idea is that we all meet together, we discuss one specific questions, and we raise a lot more questions in order to create this space where all of ideas are shared. So I would just briefly like to also present our moderator tonight, who is Dr. Christopher Phillips, who actually is the founder of Socrates Café. So this is a very rare and great opportunity to have him with us. And okay, yeah, I got some notification. So yeah, just shortly to present the bio of our moderator. Dr. Phillips has been a network fellow at Harvard University's Edmund J. Safra Center for Ethics. He's the founder of Socrates Café and of the nonprofit Democracy Café. He's a co-founder of the Endower Socrates Group and the first ever senior education fellow at the National Constitution Center. And he has been a senior writing and research fellow at the University of Pennsylvania. We are also joined with C.C. Phillips, and the 2 of them will jointly lead our discussion tonight. Tonight, we will discuss gender equality in one specific question, because it's also a week of International Women's Day. So this will kind of be our introduction to a set of activities that will be happening in this week. And tonight, we will discuss what is the role that each of us has in order to eliminate gender inequality and violence towards women and minorities. So before I give the word to Christopher and Cici, because it's a lot of us on this meeting, maybe we could just set up a rule. Once we start talking, maybe we stick to 2 or 3 introductory limits, and then, you know, it will naturally go as a dialogue, so you can have a lot more freedom. So yeah, thank you for joining us. And also just a note for Cici and Christopher, tonight we are joined by a majority of students, which is a bit different than our first session. So yeah, that's our group and audience tonight. So thank you, and I will give the word to Christopher.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this. If you want more information about Socrates Café, just go to our nonprofit website at socratescafe.com, and you'll get a lot more information. We started this in 1996, 28 years ago. And so it's been thrilling that now in the United States, there are many groups that have existed now for way over 20 years. Many groups are now celebrating their 20th anniversary. And it's also been thrilling that the Socrates Café concept that I started is now spread all over the world. Sarajevo, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. It's wonderful. It wasn't my hope or expectation, and it's wonderful that something that I started with a very modest ambition has just continued to spread. I just recently sold the rights my book now is published, the first one, Socrates Café, in about 20 languages, most recently in Arabic and in Romanian. And hopefully, Ivana, we can find a publisher in Bosnia and Herzegovina also. But I want to stress that at a Socrates Café, I think one of the reasons that it is so successful is that we don't just focus on thinking outside of the box, but we also focus on further developing our listening skills. So we don't have to say everything we want to say one time, but we place limits on our own on what we say, knowing that I, as the moderator, I will come back to you and you can say more. And also always being aware that there's probably other people who also have something to say. So the idea is that we speak a little bit, 2 or 3 minutes at the most every time, and then we step back and we really listen to other people. And it might even change what we have to say the next time. But for me, I think one of the reasons I still enjoy doing it after all these years is because it also gives me a chance to be a better listener. And I think the world needs more listeners right now, because in the United States, it's so argumentative, but people are deaf. They don't want to hear what other people have to say. They just want to say their truth without listening to others. The other thing I want to say is we have a chat box. So if you feel more comfortable putting something in the chat, please do. And I will regularly review the chat, okay? If that's your preferred way to communicate, you should feel free to do so. Cecilia and I have learned really well how to be aware of the chat, so we can also use that. If you don't speak, if English is not, if you don't feel comfortable in that, perhaps you can put in your language something in the chat, and then one of you can translate it for the rest of us. Is that okay? Because I want you to feel comfortable. I know English is not your first language, and I'm very appreciative that we're doing this in English nonetheless. Okay. You want to say something?
Well, that you also can turn on the closed captions. I know as a non-native speaker that helps. So on the bottom of your screen, there's 3 dots where it says more, and then you can just scroll up and look into captions and put show, so they will show on your screen.
Yeah. So one of the other things about Socrates Café is it gives us an hour or an hour and a half to think a little bit outside of the box, to open up our lenses of thinking and our hearts to different perspectives in a way that we might not in a typical conversation. So believe it or not, this actually relates to the question, what role can each of us play in achieving greater gender equality and in eliminating, combating, counteracting violence against women? I want to ask you first a question that might seem a little different. Because the reason I contacted Zilka and Ivana from the beginning was when I learned you had started a Socrates Café online, and your very first question was, should women be in politics? Is that right? That was the very first question that you examined. And I'm going to ask you in the context of what we're doing, and after this we still have 2 more sessions at the beginning of April and May. What would it be like if only women were in politics? How would things be different? I know that's a surprising question, so think about it a little bit. What if there were many times, when males were the only ones in politics? Now, what if only women were in politics? What do you think the difference would be? Would it be a good difference? Come on.
You can raise your hand or just start
talk.
talking, unmute yourself.
Yeah, Ella, go ahead. Oops. Ella, what happened? Ella had her hand up. Ella, what do you think? Oops, we lost her. Ella.
She said, can you hear me on the chat?
Oh, well, I could, but now you put it on mute. Hold on. Let's get this unmuted. I'm asking. You have to unmute it. Okay. Okay. Ella, what's your thoughts? No? Ella?
I think it must not.
Oh, it's on mute. Ask her to unmute. Can you unmute it? Ivana, can you unmute it?
I can just ask to unmute, but I think it's technical.
It's unmuted. Okay, it's unmuted now, Ella.
Yeah, I don't think her sound is working.
Okay, let's come back to Ella.
She will have to sign off and on.
Okay, somebody else.
You can write
Ella,
in the chat and then we will read it.
Yes. Somebody else while we're waiting for Ella.
Well, in order to know the answer on such a question, we need to, or one needs to try it. So, from
let's imagine it. What's a thought experiment?
It. That's the problem.
Why?
Because
Adam, why can't you imagine it?
I don't have such a thing in my experience.
Okay. So, but just using your imagination, okay, Adam, what is it, Adan? How do I say your name?
Adam, yes, Adam.
Adam.
Adam in English, or Adan in Spanish.
Adam. So, but why is it so hard to imagine? Just because it hasn't existed before?
Because we are somehow stuck in discourse and in things that we usually lived, and we cannot get out from that place, even though we are trying. So I'm not pretty sure, but I can imagine a society where like man is dominating, but women, no. I don't know why, don't ask me. The irony is that I'm teaching gender equality at my university, but...
Well, it's meant to be a thought experiment where we just think about it. Just like a novelist might imagine a different world, a brave new world. So let's, so Ella wrote, I was just going to say that there would be some sort of discrimination against men because their point of view wouldn't be taken into account. So let me ask women, is that your experience in politics, that your point of view is not taken into account so much?
And Verena has her hand.
Oh, where is she? Verena, go ahead.
So
Hi.
I have to disagree with Ella. Yes, it might be like that, but I think that it would be more fair because right now and throughout the whole history, we know what it's like to have men in politics, or almost like 100% of the politics to be just focused on men. So I think that we would know enough about all the needs of men and their perspective, and that we will be able to incorporate our perspective later on. So I think we would have like that historical part, and then we would be able to just continue and to actually use our voice. And yeah, I think it would be a good situation. I think there wouldn't be a discrimination or something, because we would know what it's like to be discriminated.
So you would be more sensitive.
Yeah, I think so. Because of the experience, we will be able to be more sensitive.
So a woman in politics then might say, oh, I want men to be included too, because you know what it's like to be excluded.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much. Somebody else. Alma? Alma had her... Alma, did you want to talk?
I think it's just automatic because she just joined us.
Well, here's one of the things I want to share with you. I have citizenship in the United States, but also in Greece. And my grandmother, she died over half a century ago, but in Greece, on the little island that she's from in the South Aegean called Nisros, women were the rulers. In her, it was what's called matrilineal, so matriarchal. So I come from a family where the tradition originally was that women were the leaders in the family and politics. And so it was very interesting for me as a child to come to look at this from a very different tradition. I think it's made me a better person to have a grandmother, very strong personality, almost intimidating, who taught me everything I know about, Greek philosophy when I was young. But it was, she had a sensitivity though towards men that I have not seen with men towards women. And so that's the tradition that I come from in learning about this. Does anybody else want to say anything about this specific question or write anything? And
May
please
I add something? May I add something? Sorry. This Zoom is a little bit strange application and always. Okay, so I would disagree with what previous colleague pointed out. Honestly, I would disagree with many things because we are constantly, so to say, provoking the situation in which someone is unequal. Why wouldn't we talk about the society where all people are equal, or where all the people of such a society are equally equal? To say like that. So that was my thought while colleague, may I see the name? I forgot. When colleague Berina has.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about yourselves, Berina? Tell me a little bit about yourself, please.
I am currently a student. I'm studying civil engineering. I'm interested in science, in engineering in general, but besides that, I also like these societal topics, and I try to be included into some kind of volunteering work, or to somehow to give something from me to my society. So that's maybe some kind of introduction of myself.
Are you involved in anything that has in the sphere of politics at any level?
In the sphere of politics, no, I'm not, because I'm not very sure if I want to be. I mean, I do want to be involved in politics, but right now all of the parties, the political parties and all of that, I just haven't found my place there so far. So that's why I'm not involved. That's why I haven't been involved since now.
How do you find your place?
How do I find my place? Well, that's a good question, but I would say maybe by trying to learn about different opportunities and trying to experience things as well. but if I see that some fundamental things or some fundamental principles are not resonating with who I am or with my viewpoints, then I don't know if I even want to start. I don't know if I want to be there. So if I see that there are some basic things that are resonating with me, then I'll join that and I'll see how it goes, and I'll see if I fit there and if it's good to me.
Wonderful. And Adam, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm assistant professor of international relations and European studies here at International Board University in Sarajevo. I've earned my PhD both from IBU, and my research was about Spanish identities in a modern era. I lived in Spain. I finished philosophy and sociology as my major, both studies, and my bachelor studies, and my master was from contemporary philosophy. That would be it for now. I assume
Great.
you will have a question, so.
No, thank you for sharing that. It gives me, so I do want to stress to everybody here that a Socrates Cafe is not so much about debating and argument. It's about exploration and inquiry, where we just examine a variety of perspectives, and we try our best to support our perspective. And then we look at other people's perspectives, and we all win just by really listening carefully and maybe digging a little deeper than we normally would. You know, Cecilia is from Mexico. She can speak to this better than I can. For the first time in the nation's history, there are two women. The two principal political parties, the candidates are women, and the election is just 3 months away. And there have been we do a lot of projects in Mexico. Hablo español. Gracias.
Sí, habla español. Podemos proceder en español si queréis.
But there have been very rising cases of femicide, violence against women. Even though two women are the principal candidates, femicide is soaring in Mexico. It's frightening. And I have two young daughters. So when it comes to this realm of politics, I ask myself, what if it was women making decisions about the laws regarding violence against women? What if it was women who stipulated what is violence against women? Does that make sense? What if women were the ones who wrote the rules? What if it was women who wrote the rules to say, this is what gender equality should look like? This is gender. What if they had at least equal, instead of being still at even if there's a woman president in Mexico, it's still a minority of women in politics, you know? But what if it was women at the very least equal, if not in the majority, when we decide this is what violence against women is, this is what the punishment should be, this is what gender equality is. Who should decide these things?
What I see here as a point that women constantly...
Hold on, Adam, just 1 second, please.
Yeah,
let me ask Teodora. Thank you, Teodora. Let's get you, yes, go ahead. And please tell me just a teeny bit about yourself.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Teodora Radojčić. My surname is a little bit hard to pronounce for foreigners, but it's fine. I have a degree in law, so I'm into kind of social sciences. And I am very passionate about women's rights, you could say so. So I wanted to say that we do not have to go in such extremes to imagine a society only guided by women, because that's another extreme that we've already seen in the past, but just with males. So I don't think that would be right thing to do, but I do know that throughout history, and actually even today, unfortunately, women should not let men bring decisions about our body and everything regarding to anything in regards of punishments for, I don't know, some assaults on women and stuff like that. So basically, I do not believe in the concept of only women in politics or only men in politics, but I do believe that some, let's say, parts of politics should be only reserved for women to decide on.
Tell me about that. Tell me more about that, please.
Okay, I see you're getting interesting. I don't know, for example, we can take Poland. I think that's a great example. Poland has banned abortions. So our productive rights are being decided by men. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that men should be allowed to discuss what women are about to do with their bodies.
Mhm.
Or that's just like one example. And I don't think. Hola, Cecilia.
Oh, wow. Todo el mundo
tener
habla
una
español.
conversación en español también, tal vez, si quieren.
Wow.
I
But
wish I could speak your language.
yeah, I also speak Spanish, so however you like it.
Oh.
But what I wanted to say that is that even if we have two president candidates in Mexico, or we have presidential candidates in any other country, it actually doesn't matter, because the president does not do everything. So we can have a female president somewhere else in the world, but that doesn't mean that they will take care of women's rights, because the question should be raised. For example, in Europe, we have many countries that are very female friendly, let's say it like that. And we have women into politics, and we have many women into politics, but what have they done for women question? Not much. So
Can I ask you something though? What if women made the decisions about reproductive rights and their decisions were the same as the decisions being made in Poland by men?
great. Why
It's
not?
okay.
Of course it's okay. I'm just saying that men should not be allowed to make decisions in the name of women. So let's just, I don't know, let's vote. Let's do something to allow women to talk on behalf of themselves. And I don't believe that you should only, I don't know, vote for a woman, because if there's a choice between a man and a woman for some kind of function, I don't know, I do not believe that you should vote for a woman just because she's a woman. I mean, let's look at their qualities and something like that. But when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to, you said it nicely, we should discuss what women believe is actually discrimination against women. I can talk about that. You can, but I don't think you could fully understand what women feel all the time and what we go through every day. In I don't know, it doesn't matter if it's a family matter or if it's a business matter or something else. It's just that we should be allowed to take responsibility for ourselves and bring decisions for ourselves.
Thank you so much for that. And please understand, I'm just trying to provoke thinking. I'm not
I
saying.
know, I didn't take
Yeah.
anything.
And,
It's okay.
and I would vote for my wife for president. I wouldn't vote for me.
That's okay. Mexicans are
true.
tough, so you know.
So truly, no. Adam, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No. This Theodora's thoughts were pretty inspiring. But what I wanted to add, what would happen in such a case where what's happening right now, that women are constantly playing by men's rules, and that is not the problem, but that is the case in many countries worldwide, where we have we are still living in a man's world, and that is one of the points, so to say, that are complicating our thoughts when imagining such a society from the beginning of this cafe.
Yes, I worry about my daughters, and that's why the broader question is, what role can each of us play in creating a world where there are just at least the same opportunities for women as there are for men, because there are still so many fields where in the US it's called soft discrimination. Women earn in the same field, maybe they can become engineers, but they earn much less money than men. Studies show it still today. They earn so much less money than a man who becomes an engineer.
I feel like what the system does is, we don't have the same opportunities, because even to make decisions, like women wouldn't feel that they can perhaps even leave a situation of violence because of the financial risks that implies to them and their children, for example, for one. And then I feel like the system also totally supports violence. It's just like, this is a private matter, you should be quiet. It's a taboo or shameful for one part, like women don't feel like they actually have a voice. But also the system, a kind of protects the situation,
the status quo
in the men's ruling. Just like Adam was saying, it's like it's almost even impossible for us to think about it, because because it's been that way forever. And part of my what I wanted to ask about the question is why. I mean, I feel like to respond the question, we should ask why. I mean, what has created violence in the first place? And so then we can go about how to perhaps finding some answers on how to go about resolving it.
I was going to ask Barina she was going to be a civil engineer, and I was going to ask her what the situation is in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding women in engineering. But
I'm so sorry. Could you please repeat the question? Because I have such a poor internet connection, and I had to turn off my camera, and I didn't hear Cecilia very well. So please, if you could repeat what you said.
It's so wonderful. There's only a few of you participating by video, and it's so wonderful to be able to see your gestures. And I know sometimes it's simply because the internet connection is terrible. But it makes such a difference to be able to see you, at least on occasion. Maybe you can flash on a video just for a tiny bit so we can see who you are. But Barina, I was wondering, in engineering in Bosnia and Herzegovina, what is the situation for women? Is there discrimination, or have you researched it?
I have done some research on that, and in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I would say the biggest problem that we are facing are the stereotypes that are towards women. My colleagues are young and we are just entering the working field, and a lot of them told me that they actually had problems with finding a job because the companies actually don't want female engineers. They think that we are less capable, that we are maybe more emotional, that we are not that good at the construction fields, and so on. So the majority of female civil engineers usually go to the sector of making projects, or maybe doing some calculations or something like that. So they usually don't go to construction fields to work on the construction fields. Even if they go, I've heard from a couple of them that they have a very hard time being there, and to have that authority, and that actually the workers kind of don't want to listen to them. They don't see them as a real authority, as someone who is an engineer, someone who is there to make decisions, someone that they should listen to, they should follow their commands in a way. So I would say that that's the biggest problem that we're facing here. When it comes to faculties, at my faculty, actually the majority of students are women. So maybe like even 70% of the students are girls, and 30% are guys. So yeah, it's kind of imbalanced, very, very imbalanced.
But is one of the reasons that you and the other students who are female are entering the field is to change things?
I'm not very sure about them, but I know that my biggest motivation to actually enter the engineering field was because a lot of people told me that I'm a girl and that's not a field for me or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the type of person that if someone tells me that I cannot or shouldn't do something, that's probably the field that I'm going to enter, and that's probably where I'll be. So yeah, that was one of my biggest motivations. And yeah, but for them, I'm not very sure. I haven't discussed that with my colleagues.
Thank you for that. Would some other people who have not spoken yet, do they have some thoughts they would like to share? I can't see anybody except for those who have spoken, honestly. So it would be wonderful if those who I can't see also had something, except for Ella. Ella did write some thoughts down and spoke. Anybody else? Sabina, Esma, Amina, Zana, Emma, Iman?
We have a message from Amina in the group chat.
Can you read it?
Sure, just a moment. So Amina says, my name is Amina, and I'm a student at the Department of International Relations and European Studies. When you ask the question of what would the world would look like if politics and everything else were run by women, what vividly came to mind was the Barbie movie that actually showed me what it would look like if only women ruled and were in positions while men were put aside. And the movie showed that this led to a rebellion of men. Oh, sorry, my message jumped. And the movie showed that this would lead to a rebellion of men. And it is very clear that such a thing would not be much better than a situation where men rule the world. Everyone who manages a system is always good at making decisions related to their group. For example, men, women, minorities. But in order for everyone to be equal, I agree with my professor Adam that we should be equally represented. As for violence against women, there are not enough good regulations for it because women are not asked in the creation of those regulations. Violence is one of the issues that is constantly swept under the carpet, and there are always more important issues than that. I believe patriarchy is one of the main reasons why something does not change in this matter. Men, at least in our area, are taught from young age that women are not smart enough, nor capable enough, and that they are too emotional. We are not working on educating men about these topics, and I think that is important. Thank you, Amina. It's very thoughtful and to the point.
That's beautiful. I honestly did not think we would be talking about Barbie. I've seen it twice.
We have 2 girls.
But even if we had 2 boys, so what? I even dressed like Ken when I went to see it. It's like everybody was dressing up in different things, and so it makes me these ideas of gender equality and violence are tied together. Clearly, as Cecilia was just alluding to, and I'm wondering what do we do as, I mean, none of us, I don't think, are really heavily involved in the, like we're not politicians, professional politicians. What do we do to change things so I don't have to worry so much about my daughters being victims of gender-based bullying? And also, though, one is almost an adult, of having the same kinds of opportunities that men have long enjoyed in open societies and in closed societies. What can each of us do to try to change things? Even in terms of just defining what gender equality is or can be, what violence against women is. Should women be the ones in the leadership positions or in some leadership? What can each of us do as just, ordinary citizens? Yes. See, I can see you. I can't see anybody who doesn't have a screen on. So I keep coming back to the same people.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
wave every time.
Yeah. Theodora,
So
go ahead.
unfortunately, I don't think we can, as individuals, do much. But if every single one of us can make another person think of what is right and how to behave towards women, I think that we have done at least something for the society.
But can you give me some specific about that?
Well, not really. It's just that if I can talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina or the Balkans, not really about USA, because I have not been living in the USA or Mexico. But when it comes to the Balkans region, I can say that, for example, I could talk to a friend of mine or someone I'm not really familiar with. I could talk if I see that if I sense that their beliefs are not really nice towards women, I could talk to them and try to fix that. I mean, not really fix that, but to try to give them some maybe new information about why they're not supposed to think that way. So at least if every single one of us did something with the other group of people, I think we could make a little bit of difference.
Mm-hmm. What is I was doing some research before we began the Socrates Café in the last 2 days. There is some considerable femicide in your country, right?
Yeah, in Serbia as well. That's like, I'm just so touched by these cases because I've been, I don't know, doing research and following. It caught my attention as well.
Is there another comment?
Yeah.
No. See? No? No. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It caught my attention.
I hope people who are not speaking will at least write their thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
You were saying about Serbia that they also
Yeah.
have.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Gracias. So basically what I wanted to say is that throughout my while I was growing up, I've been following many cases of femicide in this region, and every time I'm shocked, because one thing is that the femicide is happening. I mean, it's happening all around the world. But the other thing is that women, the system does not let women be protected here. And that's the main issue.
When you say the system, you mean the laws?
Yeah, the laws in the country, and actually the corruption in the Balkans is not helping at all.
Okay. I see Adam nodding his head. I can't see others. I would like to hear from some others.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Oh, no, you don't need to. But what do we as ordinary citizens, what can we do as individuals, as banding together? You know, whether I live in the United States, these are issues that still resonate with me, and that to different degrees we are facing in the United States. Can we form international groups? Would that help? What are some of your thoughts about that? Iman, what do you think? Oh, Berina has her hand up. I'm still trying to get some other people. Thank you, Berina. Berina, go ahead, please.
I would really like others to say something as well.
I can't make them.
But yeah, until then, I'll try to share my perspective. So I think that the most important thing that we individuals can do is actually to try to be as courageous as we can, to raise voice for the matters that are universally important. Because here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have a problem that people are silent. So now there's a debate if they are silenced because of some societal issues of the environment and of all of these things, or if they are deciding to be just silent. But I think if we all raised our voices, that the system would actually change, because the system is who we are. It's just a representation of us. We are the ones who can change the things, and who actually have the power. We are the ones that make all the decisions, not the politicians. They are just a reflection of who we are. So I don't like when someone says that we as an individual cannot do much. If we educate ourselves, if we educate our small circle, then they would educate maybe other people. They would start some discussions, and we would kind of open our minds in a way, and we would try to change things. So that's how I see it.
Well, thank you. That's very beautifully and eloquently put. So the question I would like to ask that builds on that is, how do we form a unity so we can sort of, even if we disagree some, you know, on specifics, and I really like for some who have not yet participated to at least write their thoughts. How do we come together so that we are a powerful force? We're not just one individual, but we're a big voice instead of a voice that's scared because it's just one of us. What little steps can we take? Or do we have to take a big step? Does it take a catastrophe to bring people together? Iman, Sabina, Emina, Zana, I can't see you. Alma, Esma, Alma, Ahmed, Emma, do you have any thoughts, please?
If I could maybe just add on to your question, like when you asked it just now, I was also thinking, like, okay, how do we come in unity in the first place? But also once we come together, how are we heard by the other side? Because usually we see within these movements, even if people are joined together, if it's a local small group or internationally, it's always people who already are kind of on the same level and they share the same ideas, but it's very hard to reach this other side. So maybe I would just also add that question if somebody has a potential answer, because I'm still not sure personally.
Ceci, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was actually, but let me know if you can hear me, because I feel like last time some of you couldn't hear me. I feel that perhaps, I don't know. I mean, perhaps like starting with our significant others, the people that we feel closer, just try to articulate what our experience is, so that without again, I feel like last time I talked about this, I don't consider myself a feminist in the sense of beating others and being mad at men or things like that. I feel like the femininity and our creativity and many things, like all the things that we do to keep a household going and things are important. And that perhaps just like trying to create that awareness of the fact, because it's a fact that we don't have the same opportunities, just like in the job, even women who have professions and go out in the world, they don't have the same opportunities, and then they come back home and have to do the exact same things that they did even if they didn't have to work. So kind of raise that awareness and in a loving way, because I feel like that's part of being a woman, that we are able to understand and care, and not in an emotional way, like we are just like painted, but in a loving way, because of our sensitivity. And I'm not saying that men aren't sensitive. There's many men, particularly this I know about this, that are super sensitive. And I feel like just creating that awareness and perhaps creating women's group where we can talk and start to speak up and getting that strength from one another. Like I see some strong women here who have spoken, and perhaps others don't feel that they have that ability, but like if we bond together and help one another to raise that voice, and invite sensitive men to our side, and then bring that voice into politics. It just and also minorities. We're talking about minorities, and I would include children in that minorities that talk about not having a voice. We at least have some voice, but children don't. So I don't know. I feel like we're just like, that it's great that we have this opportunity even to have a forum. So how do we go the next step?
Yes, Ahmed. You have to unmute. Hello.
Hello. My, one second. Hopefully you can see me.
Yes, hello.
My internet disconnected a few times, so
yes,
that's
I'm
why
so sorry.
I keep it a bit less intensive for my internet. I just wanted to say that it also, I think, the unity is a question of culture and dependent on the area in which someone was raised or born. Because personally, I think in Balkans, for example, it will be way harder than in the Western countries like France or England, because they have quite rich history in gatherings and revolutions where they took big, massive unifications with one another and made changes through their country. While the Balkans, they were mostly under a strong, powerful leader who would just make decisions for them. Examples can be like Russian Tsars, or throughout history we had Ottoman Empire, we had Austro-Hungarian Empire. So that's one of the biggest, I think, like influences that is in the unity. And I would give one example on how we could possibly make unifications throughout these communities. One could be maybe like, because we have rich history, we are also bound together by one another, because we are quite culturally diverse. We have a lot of connections, like we have a lot of friends, we have a lot of relatives throughout the countries and places, and we could maybe like through education and just speaking out, we could maybe spread awareness and possibly make one big change or something in that way.
And thank you so much. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, Ahmed?
Well, I was born in Tuzla here and raised in Krajina pretty much. And now I'm studying at International BiH University, International Relations. So I'm stationed in Sarajevo. Originally,
What is your goal?
Well, personally, my goal, I have a strong, let's see, desire for international relations, and hopefully one of my goals is to become a solid diplomat, but we'll see.
That's wonderful. You know, you spoke about the Ottoman Empire. I'm going to write the name of the island where my family's from so you can look it up. Here we go, Nisyoros. And my new book is about my family. That's but so the little island that my family's from, it's less than 1,000 people. It was constantly being conquered by the Ottoman Empire. It's a jewel, you know. And then Mussolini's fascists conquered it, and that's when my yaya, my grandmother, left to come to the United States because she was not even allowed to teach. She was a teacher. She was not allowed to teach in the Greek language. She had to teach Italian. So when she came to the United States, she came as an Italian citizen with Greek ethnicity because her island had been conquered. And so all the traditions, the matrilineal traditions, everything was lost. It was gone. You know, she hated the United States. She missed her island. She missed her culture, her heritage. But so she became the first Greek teacher in the Tampa Bay region of Florida, teaching Greek heritage and culture because she couldn't go back. It wasn't safe, you know? And so here I am, 52 years after she's died. You know, I was very influenced by the matrilineal aspect of things. The other influence for me was Martin Luther King. His birthday of January 15th was my half birthday. My birthday is July 15th, but he always, you know, many people start, you know the term lone wolf? You start out just a voice in the wilderness, one person. And then, you know, people, sometimes you say something and it speaks to people in unexpected places, many, you know, genders, ages, many different political perspectives. It still speaks that everybody should have a right to be heard again and again and again, and to have real influence in civic life and political life. But he's the primary reason I'm doing what I'm doing now. And so when there was such great division and polarization in the United States, I just had to ask myself, can Socrates Café, like what we're doing now, can a little group like this, can it make a difference? Just being able to do this, does it make us maybe give us a little bit more courage to reach out to other people and to try to not just be as one voice, but to, look at the issues that are most important now and to find other people that we can speak to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why.
It can be also like an example of one dot making a whole page turn.
Thank you so much.
There are a couple of.
Yeah, we have comments now. Who's going to read them, Ceci or Ivana? Who's going to read?
I can read them. I'm ready with a microphone.
I can't see. I have cataracts.
Okay, so the first message is again from Amina, and she said, as ordinary citizens, we can get involved in the work of certain non-state actors who have influence when it comes to this topic. There is always activism as an option. However, I think that this is by no means enough, and that, first of all, the entire discourse on gender roles must change, and the children should be brought up differently from birth, both men and women. And when there were cases of femicide, there were certain protests that did not lead to anything. If you want to take a step forward, securing greater punishments for example, violent people, these protests must be much bigger and stronger. I think the reason that this does not happen is still insufficient education and awareness of the problem. Also, people are silent because it is not their problem or because they're simply afraid of the system. And maybe I read all the messages and then we can discuss it. Yeah. And the next message is from Sabina. She says, good evening, ladies and gents. Your energy is so nice and calming. Safe, thank you. Please forgive my silence and non-visible presence. It is hard to be honest in front of those brilliant young ladies. You are amazing. Just one thing, I did so much for you girls, so you don't stop. Greetings and love to you all. And then we have a YouTube link that I think we can all save it for later or check it out. And yeah, Adam had to leave us. So we have a war message from Sabina and one kind of reflection from Amina. And we have a message from Ella who says, I agree with Ahmed that in our country, it often takes a tragedy to unite us. But unfortunately, even those movements quickly lose momentum, as seen in the recent protests following the femicide cases. To address this issue, we must prioritize providing sustainable resources to social groups and organizations dedicated to fostering open dialogue in our society. Additionally, we need more politicians, regardless of gender, who will advocate for the protection of victims of violence. Legislative change is essential for meaningful progress. P.S. I have tried to fix my microphone. I would like to participate, but there is an issue. No worries, Ella. Your message is quite enough, and maybe we will have more luck on the next chance. So yeah, we had 3 reflections. I think
that's wonderful.
For the closing of this ceremony, we can kind of reflect on what they have raised. And thank you for your input.
Oh, those are such. I thank everybody so much for sharing that. It makes such a big difference for our conversation. Does anybody have some thoughts in relation to what has been shared in writing?
Maybe I could just add a bit of context to you, Christopher, and then Teodora can take the word. So when we had these femicide cases in Bosnia in the past year or so, every time, like a day or two later, there would be a big protest, and it would not just happen in capital Sarajevo. They would be organized in smaller communities, in bigger towns, smaller cities. Right. And again, it would just, they would kind of, be organized and pass. And again, there's nothing happening until the next femicide happens. So yeah, that was just a bit of a context for you of the protest that you mentioned.
What you're saying reflects the situation, for instance, in Mexico. There have been massive protests led by women in the streets of Mexico City. They come from all of the states. The president of Mexico, who right now is a male, he leaves the city when the protests take place. He doesn't care. And to make it even more insulting, you know what he does?
Protects the monuments.
He puts these big barricades around the monuments as if and I argue the monument is the women, flesh and blood women. He puts them around these statues. Oh, they can't put graffiti on the monuments. That's all he cares about. So it can get, and then there's massive police presence, massive. So they have the protests, hundreds of thousands of people come, and nothing changes. So, but instead of feeling resignation, I can't. I have 2 daughters. I have a wife. I mean, I don't want to be part of a violent, even if I was a male, single, and no children, I would want to be part of something that takes risks to change this, because there's no future if this doesn't change. So it seems to me like we can combine these same problems in your country with other countries. What do you think? I see some head nodding from those I can see. Verena, and I think, Teodora, you were going to say some other things anyway.
Or whoever was sneaking in.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for the interruption. It was my boyfriend and he wanted to say hi.
Hi, boyfriend. Let me see him. Tell me to come back.
We want to hear what he has to say.
I want to hear what he has to say. Come back here. Don't you go away.
He got me into here, so.
Yes. Professor Adam Olovcic called me because of Socrates Café, and then I called my fiancée because she loves the subject. I'm more of a freedom subject.
Well, tell me about yourself.
Currently, we live in Sarajevo. I'm master in international relations and economic diplomacy. Undergraduate studies, I finished here in Sarajevo, and that's where I met Professor Adam Olovcic. He was teaching me.
Ah, okay. But what can you do and what can I do to make the situation better for women?
We can love them. That's what I do.
That was cute.
But how do we change the system? Just a voice here and a voice there, a male voice?
I think that we should individually change ourselves, and in that will create a domino effect, which will affect the system. If everyone becomes a better person in that area, in that case, it is a byproduct of individuality being a better person for a whole society. That's my point of view.
Oh,
but I gotta go. Thank you.
Okay, but thank you for that.
An opportunity to talk.
I'm glad I caught
really
you just in time.
It's an honor. Bye.
Thank you so much. I'll see you again, I hope.
Yeah,
Do you-
and let me just add something. I think that we should make a system in which women are protected. Because if, for example, we have laws in the Balkans area, we have. I'm so sorry. We have laws, and by laws, women are protected, but that doesn't mean that we actually use these laws. So because of the corruption, which takes a huge... I'm so sorry, he's interrupting me.
I'll tell him to come back. Come back.
Come back.
Women are protected, de facto they are not. That's not what it is, and I'm like whispering. De facto.
Well, see, here's the other thing, though. We can have beautiful laws,
Yeah,
magnificent
but
laws,
that
but
doesn't
unless
mean
they're
anything.
enforced.
That doesn't unfortunately mean anything, because we do have something written, but still it has no effect on our rights. And we can see that by these femicides that have been happening here, which we do not see the culprits, and the culprit is a whole system, not just the individuals.
Yeah, I mean, every school system in the United States now has bullying rules, very strict. And we're going to go into this more next week about social media, next month. And yet, cases of bullying, especially against females, is soaring. And quite often, schools are institutions that basically cultivate bullying, starting with the director.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting, but isn't this supposed to be like you ask a question, and then we answer with a question, and then the next answer is the divided question, and question on question on question, which is supposed to be the Socratic method of discussion.
All right, thank
We
you.
simply answer the question.
Yeah, there's many versions of the Socratic method, and I write my doctoral dissertation about
Yes,
it.
I know. That's why I
So-
was, because I want to know.
Yeah, so we can talk about that sometime.
Without asking another one.
Yeah, that's
Because
one
I was
version.
attacked by my professor. You should answer with the question.
Right. So, thank you.
I actually wanted to thank Sabina for your message, Sabina, because I feel like sometimes we don't feel that our voice is heard or strong enough. And I also, Adam left, but also like his honesty, I just really appreciate, I feel like that's the first step, like to say, I can't imagine politics run by women, just like, I feel like that first awareness and honesty is like a first step to, moving on, finding solutions. If we are not aware of what is happening, or if we can't imagine, have that imagination of seeing things differently, we can move forward. So I really appreciate those comments.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think we should be wrapping up. So maybe if anybody else wants to kind of make a closing statement, or if Christopher wants to do it, you are free to do so. And I would just emphasize that we will again have this session at the beginning of the next month. So there will be 2 additional sessions. So if you want to, progress this conversation the next time, or if you want to invite some other friends, and we will send you more information.
Yes, I think that first of all, it's such a gift to be able to do this, and maybe based on Theodora's boyfriend's question, I should send you an essay, because there's many versions of the Socratic method, and I argue that some are more legitimate and helpful than others. But I'm not a neutral party, and I think that's one of the reasons that our Socrates cafes around the world exist for many, many, many years, is because it's different than other versions of the Socratic method, that we're all in this together, and that I'm not just some neutral person, question, answer. It means that leaves me feeling empty, honestly. I'm in this to change the world, starting with my world, and you help me. You open my eyes and mind every day Ceci does. So what I would like is, I think that it would be wonderful if we could establish maybe a little like conversation group, informal, that we could stay in touch with each other in the spaces between our formal Socrates cafes. So we could share, like, here's a group, local, international, doesn't matter, that's doing things that we might want to be involved in, or at least know about. So Ivana, I'm wondering if we can create something so we can stay in touch with each other in the month between the next dialogue.
Yeah, I was just typing my email in the group chat. So maybe you can email me tomorrow, send me your contact information, and then I can set this up. Let me just check if I typed in the right email.
Yeah, we're still learning.
Yeah,
and
we found that, I found that private Facebook groups, if everybody uses Facebook, I don't know if they do, but that's a platform that I know that you could create a private group that is, safe, because there's, that same safety of certain rules and behavior and that is expected. So
it would be great if some of the participants from the first one also were made aware that we're going to try to stay in touch. Because next time we're going to look, people might also want to send to us, our group, like instances of social media violence on social media, because we're going to explore that next time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I actually saw that that's what happened, right? That there was like a feminist site that was live.
A live stream, yeah, on Instagram.
So, well, thank you so much, and I hope we can stay in touch in the space in between. And I'm so excited to see you next month.